In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Taipan Veteran Long. This is the long version. It does come in three different versions. There's a compact, standard, and a long. We'll be looking at the features of this gun as well as the accuracy, and more specifically, the accuracy shooting slugs. This gun shoots pellets very accurately. I did not even go into that because we know that's a factor. Just like the caliber gun Cricket, will shoot pellets accurately, but now it shoots slugs accurately. And I'm going to be looking at this gun and shooting AVS slugs accurately out to 87 yards, sub and half MOA. Okay, for those of you that don't want to sit through the entire video and just want to know which AVS slug works for you, here's a little chart that I put up. Again, we shot 8 boards, 8 targets each, 4-4, for each weight of 253 slug. That was 35, 36, and 37. And as you can see from the chart, we shot, you can see who shot which group. Marc shot the best group in the 35 grain, 253, at a .73 MOA. This is all MOA, by the way. I shot a .81, a .9, then Marc shot a 9.7, then I shot a 1 and a 1.1. That averaged at .92, making the 35 grain, at least for this gun, and that day that we shot, the most likely slug we would be using, because it seems like you'd almost be guaranteed to get a .92 or sub MOA group, at least at 87 yards, hopefully beyond that and closer. So again, looking at the 36 and 37, I did shoot my best group, that was mine, SB, with the 37 grain. Once I relaxed my hold with the gun, I got a .5 half MOA at 87 yards. Here is that particular target, very tight, and that was clearly the best group, and that was followed by the .78 group first preceded the .51, but you can see that averaged in the 37 grain 1.14 MOA, which means just over MOA at 87 yards. And remember, we're not professional shooters. Yes, we were giving it our all, but this is what we found works. So it would be the 35 grain, the 37 grain. Listen, I'm sure that even the 36 grain could work in your gun if you have the right tune. So what we're going to do is first go over the features, and then we'll go to the disclosure. This is not my gun. This gun was loaned to me by my good friend Marc. He's Ranger1 on the forums. Marc, thank you so much for your help and your wisdom. I really do appreciate it. Also, I am not sponsored by anyone, so I am going to tell you the truth about this gun and how great it is. And even I overlooked this gun for many, many years because I did not like the idea of a rear side cocking lever, just like the caliber gun Cricket did. But I do love this gun, and now that I've gotten my chance to get my hands on this gun, I absolutely love it. Man, these guys, they're twins. Different features, and I'll tell you what makes this a little more different or special than the caliber gun Cricket. The interesting thing about Taipan, I couldn't understand, the name even confused me until I looked it up, and I believe Taipan is a type of venomous snake. But I looked up a little bit of history about the company, and this was created by 2 aeronautic engineers, or the company was created by 2 aeronautic engineers. I believe it was not originally in the Czech Republic, but now they are in the Czech Republic, which is good, because we know they make amazing barrels and great guns. As I said, this is the long version. It has been modified, and I'll get into the modifications, but before I do, I just want to let you know that it comes standard, the long version, with a 550 millimeter, or about 21.7 inches long CZ barrel, or it can come with a Lothar-Walther barrel. Now, it does say CZ here on the side. I'm not sure if it's referring to the barrel or the gun, but I know that this is a CZ barrel because we confirmed it with the manufacturer, and that is a good thing because so is the caliber gun Cricket. This could, early versions of the Cricket, we're talking 2014, came with a Lothar-Walther. Then they switched over to CZ as far as I know, and I know I have a CZ barrel. Now, the twist rate on this particular barrel is 17.1, and that is very common. That is also true of the Cricket. And surprisingly, you know, I shot the Cricket out to 100 yards very accurately, shooting the 253 slugs, AVS slugs. And by the way, I am the manufacturer of AVS slugs. I've been told I don't do enough to push the AVS brand, so just to let you know, I spend a lot of time, as you can see from the boards behind me. I do a lot of shooting, a lot of testing, because I try to find slugs that work in a particular barrel for a particular gun, because not every gun has the same land and groove diameter. As a matter of fact, it'd be very hard to find two guns that are exactly the same, because even the same barrels manufactured by Lothar Walther can have different diameters, and that will affect accuracy. If you don't seal the grooves and really get a slug that has a nice fit and fits really well into the grooves, you are not going to get great accuracy. Again, I shot this half MOA at 87 yards, 5-shot group. You'll see that on camera. It only happens, I'm not a good shooter, but it only happens because the gun is great and then you use good slugs that fit well. All right, anyway, enough of that. So this gun is about 8.5 pounds, of course, without a scope. It comes with 2 rotary magazines as well as a fill probe. Here, I'll show you some pictures. It is a side cocking lever, although it is in the rear. The air cylinder is standard from the factory with 292 cc's, does have a factory regulator inside, but this particular gun has been modified. We now have a Yuma regulator in here as well as a power plenum. Power plenum is just another little spacer that's right here. So you'll see the gun is a little longer. Generally the gun would come in at around 32 inches, but this one's coming in about 38.5 because the added power plenum to the cylinder here has moved the cylinder forward 2 inches. So you'll see that what we have here is a hug-it moderator, and that hug-it moderator would cut right here, and that means the air cylinder is going beyond the shroud, the factory shroud. In addition to those modifications I just mentioned, it does have a heavier hammer spring as well as a hammer spring adjuster. These can be gotten online. Many retail shops offer the adjuster around 50 bucks or so. The Yuma regulator in this gun is set to about 155 bar, and what we have achieved is the ability to shoot a 36 grain AVS slug. This is a dish base 253, and I'll tell you how we got to 253 in a moment. About 940 feet per second, roughly around 70 foot-pounds, which is really, really sweet. It's nice. Now, I've achieved, without any modifications on my Cricket, 65. Now, I should rephrase that. The modification I made was I drilled out the transfer port in the cylinder, or the valve, and the barrel as well, to allow a little more airflow as well as polishing it. So I was able to achieve 65 foot-pounds of energy. But this one could go further. Let me tell you right now, there's still a lot of room for this to get more power, no problem. Now, the last and most important feature of this gun that really makes it special is the trigger. I mean, you cannot talk about a Taipan Veteran without talking about the trigger. I mean, it is even better. I mean, I thought the Cricket was good, and it is very good, but this is superior to the Cricket as far as the trigger goes. And if you look inside the mechanism here, this back here houses all the sears. There's like 4 or 5 sears. It almost looks like you're opening up, you know, an automatic watch that costs tens of thousands of dollars. It's very, very involved. I'm not going to say complicated, but it is involved, and that's what creates such a great trigger. It is sweet, it's crisp, it's very easy to shoot, and that's really what makes this gun a little different from the caliber gun Cricket. Now, it's a very close tie between these two guns because they are designed so similarly that you really, if you didn't look at the stock, you might think they're almost the same gun. They have different finishes, but for the most part, they are designed the same way. They even shoot the same way, same kind of barrel. It's really fantastic. The second item that makes this gun so special is that it can shoot both pellets and slugs, now the right slugs, very accurately. So what we did, with Marc's help, we pulled this barrel and we slugged it. Now, because it is choked, we had to slug it in 2 different spots. At the muzzle, the first 3-4 inches, even though the choke is around 1 inch, and then halfway down the barrel to get 2 measurements. What is for those of you that don't know what slugging a barrel is, it's merely taking a larger diameter slug, like I make 2 5/8, and I rammed it down from the breech end and from the muzzle end, because you don't want to go from the muzzle end if you have to take a reading halfway, because it is choked here. We came up with 2 readings, and then we used a micrometer to read not the land diameter, but the groove diameter. So you have to spin the slug, and I actually have them right here, and we came up with 2 readings. At the choke, it was 2513, and then halfway down it was 2543. So, oh, I'm sorry, 2518, I think, and then 2543, halfway down. So that leaves you at a loss to say, well, what slug do I use? Well, that's why I make so many different diameters. And I tried 254, 255, I tried 250, 251, 249, no way. That was just, they were all over the place, shotgun pattern. And that's why we do it. But the 253 and the right length and weight slug for this twist is a 17.7 twist. And funny enough, so is the cricket. And the same length weight slug worked. The 253 36 grain dish worked really accurate out of this gun. Another thing I want to mention is that you may have heard so many people tell you, whether you go on the forums or not, that choked barrels don't shoot slugs accurately. Don't be fooled into believing that. I've done it many times. I've done it with my Nova Liberty, which is a choked barrel, $300 gun. I've done it with the Avenger. I've done it with the Cricket. The Vulcan, the FX, they're choked as well. And now with, so yes, you can absolutely shoot accurately the right slug from a choked barrel. And you can do it really accurate, as I have done it. Before we go to the range, I just want to let you know that Mark had shot a 16 target board, 5-shot groups, but the camera fell over on his first group. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to show you, sorry Mark, and you'll see, I'll show you where the camera fell, like on your 4th or 5th shot. And then I shot 16 targets as well. I made sure the camera didn't fall over at that point. Mark, I didn't purposely sabotage you, I'm sorry. But Mark shot accurately, and he did have a problem, so I just want to preface it. He had a parallax adjustment error on his groups, his first set of groups, so we didn't show that board just because he was moving. He noticed if you move your eye just a little bit, the point of impact was shifting. It's what's called a parallax error, and that's what he was having. So once he made the proper adjustment on the scope and fixed that, that's when he shot his sub-MOA groups. Then he put me on this gun. By the way, this gun is not fitted to me, but I may do, and I'll tell you, the strong trigger can make up for not having the scope in the right place. I mean, again, I had to tilt my head downward to get the proper eye box, but still, even with that, I shot 1/2 MOA at 87 yards, I think 3 or 4 sub-MOAs, and the rest were around MOA. So again, I'm not going to cherry pick. I'm going to show you the whole thing. Let's go to the range right now. Here's Mark first, and then you'll see my groups. Got up this morning. 3-something.
$9.53.
Okay, look what I just did off camera. Check it out.
They ain't gonna believe it.
I know, they don't believe that shit. Camera down. So here is that board after you just saw the camera fall over. Here's a sub-MOA group, another tight, just around MOA, along with a lot of good groups on this board. Here's an MOA, definitely just around MOA. Nothing on this board is bad. This is really good grouping. And unfortunately, sorry, Mark, I wasn't able to capture all of it. But check this out too. So that was the one we got on camera. I have the board. This was when he was having a parallax adjustment issue. So nothing on this board is bad as well. And this was with parallax issues. I mean, that is probably sub MOA. That's less than, well, maybe not. Again, at 87 yards, it's going to be like 0.88. It's not exactly an inch. It's a little more than an inch at 100 yards. But again, these are all really tight groups. So it shows that the slug and the gun, if you do your part, will be very accurate. So now that we looked at Mark's boards, let's take a look at my boards and what I shot, and let's look at some accuracy there.
Okay, that was loud. Okay.
Okay.
they're using that shit. Help immensely when you have somebody that understands.
So I gotta do that. So you see it's like tough. And then I filled it and seemed all over the Rex flight.
So I changed it.
I'll just get it weekly.
Oh, it's right there. Still amazing.
It's
The group? Yeah. Yeah, wow. Three in one hole once I settled in. Yeah, that was.
I can tell.
Anyways, I'm not used to that. Yep, and that was a different hold.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, that was me. Yeah, it's almost. Dude. Yeah, that's me.
Slug out of there. That's it. Yeah, it wasn't budging it. Yeah, it was sitting there just past the port. Yeah. Or something. Let's see if I can do it. I watched a couple of these. It's just so goddamn simple. Said hell with it. I had
Wow.
5 quarters, 6 of them. Well, when I would squeeze that trigger.
Ductile was stupid.
Oh yeah. So basically.
All right, so if I recall, 35s, 36, 37, 35, and 36. Look at this. At 85 yards, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 sub-MOA groups, some MOA groups.
So now just to summarize, this was the actual board. Here's a sub MOA, there's an MOA. This is a little messy here, this is a little messy. Wow, look at that. That was that really tight half MOA. Your pinky could cover that one. Here's another sub MOA, here's another sub MOA. MOA, a little over, messy. Here, it looks like wind. Now, we didn't have much wind, so I don't want to blame it on that. But you see it's side to side. But again, none of these groups are bad. And if I wanted to cherry pick, I would just say, well, check out the half MOA and the other 3 or 4 sub MOAs. And there you go. It's an accurate gun. Both Marc and I have shown that this Taipan Veteran, yes, it can shoot pellets, but it can also shoot slugs. Just get the right slug and it will shoot well.